Lord, you can hear me good, right? All right, three, two, one. Hey, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon or good evening, wherever you're at in the U.S. and around the world. Welcome to Baseball Outside the Box. I'm your host, Pete Caliendo. Thanks for joining us for another episode. This is outstanding. It is the day after Thanksgiving. Hope you all had a great Thanksgiving and you all were thankful for what you have in your life, because there's a lot of people that do not have a lot and we need to help them as much as possible. Hey, listen, before we start, this show is dedicated to my mentor of 40 years, a unbelievable, successful, energetic, the most positive person you would ever hear in your lifetime. You could hear him on the podcast. I can't remember the episode. It was a while back. I had him on the podcast. Linda Forte passed away Thanksgiving Day. His goal was to reach Thanksgiving, and he did it, folks. And again, I met him 2 weeks ago. He was knowing that it was the final days of his life. He was the most positive person because he believes in God and he is so trustful of what the next life will be like. Also, as you know, my mom passed away November 5th, so we dedicate the show to both of them, Linda Forte and my mom, Vivian Caliendo. Hey, listen, don't forget also, join us on the podcast at baseballoutsidethebox.com, subscribe, and don't forget YouTube, Peter Caliendo, subscribe there. Let me tell you, we got a great show today. Why? Because I'm not sure there's a more perfect show than this one. You could see it on the screen if you're live on Facebook. This is the man who re-energized baseball when it comes to fun, entertainment. We know independent ball has been fun entertainment for many years, but this guy took it to the next level. Jesse Cole, he is the founder and owner of the Savannah Bananas. I'll tell you what, a great name. You got to love the name right away. And they are in the Coastal Plain League. If you didn't know, that the Coastal Plain League is one of the most successful collegiate programs in the country. He's been around 20 years. So let me welcome, before anything, because he knows the game in and out when it comes to getting fans there, let me welcome Jesse Cole. What's up, buddy?
What's up, my friend? Excited to be with you. And by the way, I absolutely love the name of your podcast, Baseball Outside of the Box. We need more people thinking outside the box. So excited to be with you.
Well, it fits. And, off the show, I was taking some notes and, I love the comments that you've made and quotes. I may, miss a little bit here, but whatever is normal, do it the exact opposite. Be successful, stand out and be different. And Jesse, I might as well start with that. I was thinking about wearing my yellow hat too, but that's not really fair because I'm not part of Savannah Bananas. But when you talk about those quotes, it's a little scary for people, right? When you're young and now all of a sudden you're different, you get criticized for it, I think, in some ways. And even when you're old, like me, if you do something different, if you say, no, it should be done this way. So I guess to start with here, before we had talked about bananas, let's talk about when you're doing things like this or believing in things like this, and you're a coach or you're a person out there in business, how do you approach it? Because it can be a little rough at first.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is normal for us got really bad results. And, for us, we were doing things normally when we first came into Savannah, and we sold 2 total tickets. And it ended up getting us a phone call that we overdrafted our account and we were completely out of money. And my wife and I had to sell our house, empty out our savings account, and we were sleeping on an airbed. That's what normal got us. And I think to an extent, we're not reaching our full potential if we don't step out of the box and we start thinking differently and thinking creatively and have the courage to stand out. And, I've learned that from a lot of people, and my biggest mentors are P.T. Barnum and Walt Disney. And I've read every book by those two. And, they had the courage to do things completely differently, to think big, to promote like crazy, and to be able to bring people into their ecosystem because they believed in something larger than life. And I think for us, I was a baseball player. My dad bought a baseball facility when I was a kid because I was up in Massachusetts, so I could work out year round. Baseball was my life. And my dad used to always say, Jesse, if you hit a home run, act like you've done it before. And, and I tried to act like traditional, and I realized I left a lot of fun on the table. And I was fortunate. I got a full college scholarship. I started hearing from professional teams, getting letters in the mail, talking to scouts. And then I tore my shoulder, and that ended my career. I went to see Dr. Andrews. He gave me surgery, but it couldn't get me back. And that was it. And the one regret I look back on, I said, man, I wish I had more fun playing. I wish I didn't take it so serious. I wish not every night that I was pitching, in college, thinking so much about, how good I had to be instead of just enjoying the moment. And now as I run these sports teams, I run the Savannah Bananas, and I ran teams before that. I said, how can I make it the most fun possible for guys? And to do that, you can't be like everyone else. You can't treat it normal. You can't be the traditionalist. And so that's what we started doing. And, every player on our team will do a choreographed dance at every game. Our players do choreographed dances. They pass out roses to little girls in the crowd. They do ring dudes where they hold up the ninth inning like a ring girl on the dugouts. They go on dates with fans. They're in music videos. Our players have more fun. And what's crazy with the Savannah Bananas, and we've been fortunate to sell out every single game and have a wait list for tickets in the thousands. But what people don't talk about much is that we've won more games than any team in the league over the last 5 years. We've won a championship. We go to the playoffs every year. And the reason, because they are having more fun, because they're enjoying the atmosphere. And when you have fun, you perform better. And I think that is the key to really thinking outside the box, is how can you bring more fun to your life?
And that brings up an interesting point, because we're talking about balancing now the off the field, on the field activity with the baseball part. And I know in the old days, sometimes that was a little delicate, because, people that were traditionalists said, well, they got to play the game. We don't want anything on the field. Then things started to change. How do you mesh those? I guess, how did you have to sell that to the players that possibly weren't ready for that right away? Not only the players, but you got a special coach. I know you did a research and you picked a special coach for it, so that was important. But you had to sell also the coaching staff, and that might have been a little tougher. How did you do all that?
We're very fortunate. I've had two great coaches in Savannah with Sean West and then Tyler Gillum. And there's probably 15,000 coaches that would never coach in our organization because it is too much of a circus. And the reality is, it's taken 15 years to really build who we are and who we are not. And I'll never forget when we had our first team in Gastonia and 2007. And before the first practice, all the players showed up from all over the country, some of the top schools, top programs. And I said, guys, before we practice today, we're going to learn how to dance. And I brought a dance instructor in from the local dance studio. And the guys were like, you got to be kidding me. Because we hadn't proven anything. We haven't even had a game making it more fun yet. And I remember one pitcher, he said, I'm not doing it. And he went off to the bullpen and he said, I'm here to pitch. I'm going to work on pitching. And he went out to the bullpen and he worked on his pitching. The rest of the guys tried to dance. The first night they danced, the jump on it dance, jump on it, jump on it. The fans started cheering like crazy. By the next game, everyone was wanting to know when the players were going to dance. By the third game, I'm walking through the grandstand and a husband and wife are talking. And the wife goes, shut up, honey. They're about to dance. And I was like, we've got something now. Halfway through the season, those guys were signing more autographs, the most popular guys on our team, the ones who were dancing. And that pitcher went to the bullpen and said, I'm not going to do this anymore. He goes, I'm going to jump out there. And he came out there halfway through the season, ripped his belt off his pants, throwing his belt above his hat, and he became the most popular player of the year. And I found out a few years later, he was on a billboard in LA. He's now a male model. So it's gone full circle. But what happened was, and then the next year, Russell Wilson, the quarterback for the Seahawks, played for us, and he danced. And then when people are seeing Russell Wilson dance, they're like, all right, this is fun. And so those stories started to grow. Hey, they're doing it. They're doing it. They're doing it. That now that's who we attract. We get over 1,000 players that try to apply or reach out to us to play for our team a year. And we pick 30 that understand you're going to entertain as much as you're going to play. And, we attract the right people now. So it's been a lot easier because our coaches understand what we're about.
Yeah. And Jesse, what about picking, when you pick your players, you said, that they've got to understand what they're getting involved in, but you also have to have talent at the same time.
Sure.
Where is that responsibility? Is that the responsibility with your coaching staff and picking the players? Are you involved with that? How does that work when it comes to the culture of it?
When I was involved in recruiting, we were in last place back in 2008 in Gastonia. So I realized what I'm good at, what I'm not good at. I recruit the characters. I bring in the pep band. I bring in, the male cheerleaders. I bring in the breakdancing coach. I bring in those characters. I understand that show. As far as the players, Tyler Gillum and Sean West, who we've had before, they understand that we need talent, but we also need guys who understand fans first. So to be clear, the name of our company is Fans First Entertainment. Our mission is fans first, entertain always. Every decision we ask, is it fans first? That's our guiding light. That guides us. So when our players show up, we go through a full fans first onboarding before they even get a jersey. We have a fans first playbook where we share stories about who we are, what we do, the stories of our players doing amazing things for fans, things that I'll never forget. Stories from Russell Wilson, stories from the Bananas players. And they understand what it's about. We show videos of these moments, and then they get their uniform. So when it's very clear who you are, I challenge every baseball program, every organization, Is it clear who you are, what you stand for, what your mission is, and what your vision is? A lot of teams, it's like, hey, to develop players, go a little further. It's bigger than the game. And that's what we realize. It's the impact of seeing people come to our games. Like a gentleman at one of our last games, before COVID, came up to me and he gave me a big hug. And I go, wow, what was that for? He goes, you have no idea how much your games mean to me. I go, oh, thanks. He goes, no, my mother and I weren't talking for years, but she came out to a game and watched the players dance and watched the Banana Nanas. Now my mother and I sit together at every single game. You guys help bring together our relationship. And when you realize that it's bigger than that, it's bringing people together for fun, it's very clear to share that with the players and make them all on board.
Absolutely. Love it. What about this? Take us behind the scenes. When you're sitting with your staff, how do you come up with certain things? And I'm assuming that some things may not work and you have to get rid of them, right?
Oh, yeah.
How does that work? What's the talk behind the scenes like?
Well, we only talk about, we don't use the word failures. We talk about discovery. What do we learn? What do we learn? It's a culture of experimentation. So yes, back in the day, salute to underwear night, where literally people who wore underwear got a free ticket back to our first team, Gastonia. It was the most unfamily friendly night I've ever seen. It was disgusting. Flatulence Fun Night failed. Our world's largest tickets, where we developed tickets that were the size of posters because we thought it'd be cool to have those. Our fans didn't know what to do with them. They didn't fit in their pockets. They didn't fit in their purse. But we look at that as at bats. You're a baseball guy, Pete. Who has the most hits in Major League Baseball history?
P. Rose.
Pete Rose. Do you remember how many hits?
4,100 and something. I can't remember.
Yes. I think it was 4192 or something.
Yeah, 92 maybe.
Yeah. All right. Who has the most at bats in Major League history?
Ty Cobb?
Pete Rose.
I have no idea.
Pete Rose.
Rose, wow.
He has 2,000 more at bats than any other player that played the game. And he also has the most hits. There's a reason there. The next person that has the most hits is Hank Aaron, the original home run king.
Mm-hmm.
You got to keep coming to bat. You got to keep taking those swings. Do you know which player had the most strikeouts in Major League history as a hitter? Who failed the most?
Who failed the most? Wow.
What hitter struck out the most? This is tough.
Yeah, couldn't even tell you. I mean, I would think Babe Ruth, but yeah.
So if I told you who hit 3 home runs in Game 6 of the 1977 World Series to help the Yankees win the World Series, and he's known now as Mr. October.
Yep.
It's Reggie Jackson. He struck out more than any player that ever played the game. But we don't remember the strikeouts.
Nope.
We remember the home runs. He's a Hall of Famer. Yep. So in our entire organization, we talk about keep coming to bat. What are you experimenting with today? Every game, every department, whether it's merchandise, food and bev, promotions, our on-field host, everything we do, there's something new we have to try every single game. And when you build that culture of experimentation, you learn faster than anybody else.
Is there, interesting enough, because I saw some videos, when you hire staff, I think this is important too, because, I've never believed in the old system of how they hire people, look at a resume and then they do all kinds of interviews. Talk about what your interviews are like when you're looking for key people in your organization.
Yeah. And this has evolved over the years. I mean, one thing I've learned is entrepreneurs aren't great at hiring because we always have that optimistic view. Like they're going to be great. They're not good at this, but they'll be good. So I've tried to stay out of it. Actually, our team is doing all the hiring. I meet that person on that first day and I spend time with them, take them out to lunch and get to know them. So that's evolved. For us, it's again, clarity. One of the best things we did recently is we came out with our 5-year vision and we shared it publicly, where we are going, who we are going to be in the next 5 years. And we lead with the vision. So before anyone, if we're hiring a position, we'll send out this vision, this 12-page document, and we'll say, is this where you want to go? And if this isn't where someone wants to go, even when they're hiring, it's on our page, you got to be clear, this is where we're going because we need the people on the bus that want to go where we want to go. Then our 3-step process is very clear. We look for a video cover letter because video is everything. Do you bring us up? Do you lift us up? Do you bring energy? If you're going to be on stage with our fans, on stage with our people, do we want to be around you? Can we tell by that energy? Number 1. Number 2, we want a fans first essay. So our 6 core beliefs, always be caring, different, enthusiastic, fun, growing, and hungry. Write on how those fit in your life. Because if you can't live by those, you will not fit well in our culture. And then the third final one is we don't want the past resume. We want your future resume. So we are fascinated to know what you want to do in the future. I don't care if you worked wherever 10 years ago, 5 years ago, what you want to do in the future. And if you want to have the same position with us for the next 5 years, you're probably not growing and hungry. If you want to do something even bigger than us in 5 years, you might fit perfectly with us because we want to help you get there. And so again, we've learned to kind of master this or get better at this over the years by being very clear and very intentional. And I think that's the key for any organization. Do you actually know what you're hiring for? Not just a title and a position, but the type of person to lead you here. And that's what we're looking for.
And I love that because I have always believed that if you're going to hire somebody, you better like them. They better be positive. They better be energetic. And the only way you can tell that is obviously by meeting them. But there are a lot of young people nowadays, they're on video and they're on texting all the time. They don't communicate a lot with people out there, except with text. Sometimes they'll do it through video. What's your advice for young people that are, getting into college, after college, getting into a career that may not have that ability to have that personality right away? Should they practice on video? What can you do to kind of get them motivated? Because people are going to be looking for somebody that can get in front of the camera once in a while or can communicate to people well. What's your advice there, maybe?
Yeah, I think, again, get your reps in. For instance, if I look back at probably my first podcast 5-6 years ago, I'd probably be embarrassed by it, but I've done 500 of them since, and now it's more comfortable. And so if you want to be more comfortable around people, you got to be around people. If you want to be more comfortable on video, you got to be on video. It's like anything. And I think get your reps in, get your reps in, get your reps in. And don't be afraid the first time you get your reps in that it's going to be awkward. It's going to be uncomfortable. I started posting every day on LinkedIn about 3 years ago. In my first few posts, no comments, no likes, nothing. But then you keep showing up, keep coming to bat. So I think that's the key. The better question I would challenge young people to ask is, before you start looking for a job, ask yourself and show how you can provide value to that organization. I think what we do as young people, it's like, oh, I want to work for them. They should hire me. Well, what can you do for them? And I've been fascinated by people who have reached out, who have sent us graphic design, things of our own stuff, who have sent us videos, who've come out and taken pictures at our stadium. Prove your value first, and then you'll have an opportunity. Don't ask. Give without asking for anything in return. If I'm a young person and I want to work for the Boston Red Sox, you better believe I'm going to do everything I can for the Boston Red Sox without getting paid a dime. Can I create? Can I come up with ideas? Can I share ideas? Can I do anything to give them value and then keep showing up? And I think that's one of the biggest keys that I think young people can look more at to get an opportunity.
Awesome. Success breeds, I guess, people looking at it and saying, I'm going to do the same thing. Has that been contagious where you're seeing a lot of teams, a lot of leagues learning from what you guys are doing?
I think some people pay attention. I'm not really too focused on that. I'm focused on our learning. So I'm learning it from outside the industry. I think so many people talk about best practices. You want to learn the best practice. I'm focusing on the next practices and outside the industry. I'm focusing on what Amazon's doing, Netflix is doing, Chick-fil-A is doing. And I think that is a key. We always try to get these meetings, you go to a sports industry meeting and, oh, you guys are doing fireworks. Oh, you're doing bobbleheads. No, to really innovate, take things from outside of your industry. The reality is we're the only team in the country that does every single ticket's all you can eat. Well, we got that from the cruise industry. You go to cruise ship, all your food's included, all your entertainment's included. You pay for premium items. We put that in. No other sports team was crazy enough to do that. No sports team's crazy enough to eliminate all their advertising. We became the first team dumb enough to say, let's eliminate all of our ads. And right before the pandemic was announced in February of 2020, we said, we're going to the first ever ad-free ballpark. We didn't learn that from anyone in the sports industry. Who would do that? Right. But we learned it. We said, you know what? There's a reason why we like Netflix better than YouTube. You go on Netflix, you're not interrupted by ads. On YouTube, pre-roll, pre-roll, pre-roll. And so what would our fans like? And so I think that's key for people is start looking outside their industry constantly. And I'm sure some people follow what we're doing. And I know we follow what we learn from others as well. But I think we hear from more people outside the industry than we do inside the industry.
What's also interesting is you're building your team, and there's a lot of things that go on the field. Mm-hmm. How's that coordinated? What are some of the things that you've done on the field that people really love? You mentioned the dancing with the players. Give us some other areas of what you've done on the field.
Yeah, so the player interaction is huge. So again, Every innovation starts for us is what are the friction points on the experience? And so you look at a baseball game experience, and I think the word that people say mostly is boring or long or slow. Yeah, they say it over and over again. So then we think about what are we doing to constantly add to the excitement. So even just pregame. So literally in our pregame, we have a luchador coach who does a haka with the players from rugby at the other team. I wrote this idea today. We're going to start having weigh-ins between two teams. Bring in a guy from the visiting team, take his shirt off, flex versus another weigh-in with the other guy. We also have the banana baby, where before every game, we bring out a 6-month, 8-month-old, put them in a banana costume, go to home plate. All the players are on the ground with their hands up, and we lift the baby up and say, na Savannah Nahi, to celebrate, the banana baby. All of these rituals happen. Then the breakdancing first base coach dances in the 3rd and 4th and 7th inning. So he'll be doing the moonwalk into the single ladies, into the Carlton dance in the middle of the game while he's coaching. Then the Banana Nanas will come out, the senior citizen dance team in their 70s, and they'll dance to Bruno Mars and Old Town Road and hip hop. Then we have our male cheerleading team, the Mananas, who are literally with pom-poms cheering the crowd and getting them going. Then we'll have a sing-off between 2,000 fans in one grandstand, 2,000 fans in another grandstand, where the whole stadium is singing as loud as they can to see who can sing louder. It's all this balance of engagement versus fun. And we have about 200 different promotions that we mix in throughout a year. And we try 1 to 2 new ones every single night that we've never done live in front of a crowd. And a lot of times they fail miserably. We had some great failures, but then we do another one, and then we do another one. So it's hard to explain. People say you have to see it. For us, we had to believe it first before seeing it. Now people have to see it to believe it.
And then you've got feedback from your fans. How do you get your feedback? Is it just emails, or do you actually communicate with fans? Ideas, maybe they give you some ideas. Is there any of that involvement? Because you say fans first.
Yes.
And I think they've got to be part of this, right?
Yeah, I mean, they help choose the name. They help choose our mascot. They choose our jerseys. They literally this past year we let fans on our live stream determine who was going to pitch at the end of the game. They determine our closer. So we literally let our fans make so many decisions because we try to think of it as our fans are the owners of the team. What would they do? I have a weird battle with.
Can I just stop you just for a second? I'm curious about that because you brought up a good point there.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, and I'm going to play devil's advocate here a little.
No, let's have some fun.
And I say this because when I was with the Schaumburg Flyers, similar thing happened. It was not received very well, but it also could have been how it was set up and implemented. But when we're talking about fans picking who the reliever might be, you might have 2 relievers in a bullpen and they get a chance to pick. How does that go over if that person is not successful in that part when he comes in for relief and it costs the game? And the manager might have wanted to do the opposite.
Our closer let up 6 runs the game he was chosen, so which was very interesting. Anytime we do things with the players, the first conversation I have is with our coach. So I say, hey, I'm thinking about an idea. What are your thoughts on this? How could this work? And when you ask how can it work, as opposed to how will it not work, then you help them. They get buy-in because they're building it. So for instance, when we had our St. Patrick's Day 3 years ago, I went to our coach. I said, how could we be the first team ever to play in kilts? And he thought about it. He said, well, we got to get the catcher on board. They got to have sliding pants. I go, all right, these are solutions. Give me questions that we can find it. And so we brought our catcher in and he looked at the kilt and he's like, do we get to play in these? And so he sold it to the rest of the team, Bill Leroy. And so we did it. So it's asking those questions. So our coach said, hey, these 3 guys, they need to get working. These 3 pitchers, they need to pitch. Whoever pitches, I'm fine with whoever goes into this game. So he was fine with it. And now the fans chose that. But
I'm curious, and I'm about the league. This may not have anything to do with your team exactly, but as far as the league concerned, maybe that some teams can learn from this. Is there anything that the league has done to change the rules of the game, whether to speed up the game, whether make it more fun in general? Anything the league's done there?
No, so that's why we did it. And it's tough. The league has to go by the NCAA rules. We're getting players from the NCAA. So I understand. And I can't say enough. The league has done a great job. And I'm so thankful that they've given us the freedom to adjust and do things a little differently. But we had to create our own game so that we can make it faster because it needs to be. And so that's what we started doing. And we'll be doing a lot more of that.
And folks, just so you know, Jesse's been all over ESPN, CNBC, I believe CNN, all kinds, his book's selling in 18 countries. We'll talk about that here and we'll put it all in the show notes because we want to share this. I want to jump a little bit away from the actual league and the team.
Yeah.
I want to get your advice on this for coaches, for leagues in general. I'm going to start with some organizations with what's called federations around the world,
Yes.
how baseball's set up. I'll take Europe as an example, where they have club teams and they have, a senior team, which is their older team, which would be just like your club, let's say. What's your advice, I guess, for some of the countries out there that are trying to attract people to come to the game? They're fighting another sport like soccer, obviously, especially in Europe. They don't have a large fan base, and I know it's giving you some of the, I don't know if they're negatives, but some of the hurdles, let's put it that way, that they have to overcome. What's some of the advice for, I guess, those countries, whether it be Italy, Germany, Holland, to get more fans to come to the game? What would Jesse do if he was thrown in that country and he had to do the exact same thing or something similar to that?
Well, I would ask what my two biggest mentors would do, P.T. Barnum and Walt Disney. And I reframe that with everything. I ask, what would PT do and what would Walt do? I think the first question that they need to ask is, why should they come? What makes you different? And I think a lot of times you come into a community, especially independent teams, and they say, the community is not supporting us. Well, you need to earn their support. We sold 2 tickets in our first 3 months in Savannah, two total. That was it. It was so bad because we hadn't earned the respect. We hadn't earned their fan base. We haven't earned that. So if you're in all over the country, I would say, why should someone go to your games? And I'll tell you, if you answer the question with because our team wins or they play better, you're on the wrong track. Focus on what you can control. This was something that Walt Disney was great at. That's why he built Disneyland and Disney World. He couldn't control the movie theater experience, but he can control when people came to his world, his land. So what does that look like? When you look at your ballpark experience, do you look at you have one stage and your stage is just what the players are doing on the field? Or do you have 5 stages like we do? The parking lot, the plaza, the concourse, the grandstand, and then the field. Do you have performances on all 5 stages? Do you have entertainment on all 5 stages? Are your players involved in all 5 stages? Why should a younger fan base want to come to you? And so how do you defeat boredom? People might not be going to baseball games because they think the idea is boring or they don't understand it. But what do people understand? They understand fun. They understand being entertained. So again, what we've excelled in is we understand we're not in the baseball business, we're in the entertainment business. And when you frame a question like that, nothing's off limits. So I would challenge these people and say, hey, yes, baseball may be your platform, but you have to think a lot different than that. You have to think, we make baseball fans, not necessarily by the baseball that's being played, but by everything else that's going on.
Weird question. Would you have to understand the culture of that country, understand what maybe some of the fun things that they think is fun or entertaining? Or do you just...
Yes, 5,000%. Yeah, to an extent. I mean, you got to know what your sweet spot is, what you're best at. Henry Ford said, if I were to ask people what they wanted, they would have said faster horses. Right. So it's one of the reasons why we don't do a ton of surveys. We know, is our wait list growing for tickets? Are all the games still selling out? Are we still getting positive reviews? But yes, I think you need to understand that in that culture, what do people love to do? What do they enjoy? But to an extent, Pete, I'll tell you this, 10 years ago, no one would have said, I would love something in my kitchen that's a black cylinder that looks like a Pringles can, that listens to every single thing that I say, and I can listen to music and order things and ask them questions. Yet Alexa and the Echoes have taken off. So I think when you come into a country, you have to have an idea that I'm going to try a bunch of things to be fun and to make it different. And you know what? At first, you're going to be misunderstood. Jeff Bezos said it best. If you're not misunderstood, you have to be willing to be misunderstood in the beginning because people don't know it. People looked at us. They hated the Savannah Bananas. Everyone, when we came up with the name, people were like, the owner should be thrown out of town. You guys are embarrassment to the city. You'll never sell a ticket. Because people didn't know that we were all about the show, the fun, the entertainment. So if you come into a country and you're not at least a little bit criticized or a little bit misunderstood, you're playing it too safe. So I would challenge on the other side, try some wild things and see if that gets people talking. Because if you don't have people talking, good luck on getting them coming to your games.
Right.
How do you got to be remarkable? What's the definition of remarkable? Are people willing to remark about you? So is your product and experience remarkable, or is it the same as everything else? That's why trying crazy things to an extent wins. And we can't be afraid of that because that'll get people talking.
And just like in sports or in business, that word fear, that always stops people, right? If I look different, if I'm not part of status quo, then I'm not part of the system. So I love what you're saying. I think this is fantastic. Now, can you take this system and put it in high school, college programs? I know some colleges have some entertainment, but they don't seem to have a lot. Would you recommend high school and college programs looking at this and saying, hey, why shouldn't, colleges want fan bases, obviously. High school, maybe not as much, but especially college. What's your thoughts there?
Yeah, 5,000%. I think it'd be better for everyone if people always have things to look forward to, that they're going to have fun. And, I remember high school games that, the student section was crazy and that we had so much fun and we looked forward to it every game because we were yelling things, chanting, signs, all that. A lot of sports do it very, very well. But the biggest thing holding them back is the way things used to be and the way things are and tradition. And our season ticket base is older, for college. We have thousands of season ticket holders and they pay us this much and they don't want all this craziness. They just want the game. Well, as Wayne Gretzky said, focus on where the puck's going, not where it's been. And I think the reality is every operator needs to look at where is it going in the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And where is it going is not sports as a spectator sport. I'll say this right here. Baseball and sports is not and should not be a spectator sport in the next 10 to 20 years. And what I mean by that is it needs to be an experience where you can have different experiences every single night. You don't sit in one seat, you move around. Think of what makes Disney World great. You can see this show here, then you can go here. You have freedom to control the experience you want. At a sporting event, especially college and high school, here's your seat, you sit down and you watch a game. The future of sports is going to be giving you the freedom to have a different experience every single night, where when you leave, you may have missed something that you have to come back to want more. And that's what I think we're focused on. And I think a lot of high schools, colleges should be focused on too. Their future customers, not their current customers.
Yeah, and your success proves it. So, it's awesome. Now, you and I were talking off the air. You're taking a show and have taken a show on the road. Talk about that, because now you're taking it to another level. You're taking the Savannah Bananas to another level, which I think and I bring this up, I think this can really help a lot of countries too. And I'll tell you why, because we have an organization in Vancouver, Canada, great friends of mine, BC Baseball, for about the last 14 years, they've taken what we call the show on the road in order to promote the game, all the different cities around Vancouver, Vancouver Island, showing kids, parents, and coaches what it's like to have fun, practicing, playing the game, enjoying the game, all that. So talk about what you guys are doing in that perspective.
Well, it was very eye-opening, COVID and the pandemic. And yes, we played in front of more fans than any team in a safe way, 0 player positive cases. It was good. We were very fortunate. But what we learned is, boy, we're susceptible. You think about any sports team, they are irrelevant for 3, 6, or 9 months of a year. And I mean by irrelevant is they are not playing. People aren't talking about them. They go in hibernation. And we got together as a leadership and we said, this shouldn't be. We know when we deliver a show and we bring this and we have people drive, like a young man with his family who drove 40 hours from Utah to come to one game this summer and then drove back the next day.
Wow.
We know that this can make a big impact and bring joy and happiness and fun. So why aren't we doing it year round? So part of our vision that we put out publicly, we put out in the world, we shared it, it's on our website. Like we said, bananas need to be a 24/7, 365 brand. We're already doing with our content, TikTok, we almost got 300,000 followers, Facebook, we're growing, TikTok, everything's growing because we're showing our videos of our players having fun. But we said, well, why aren't we having games year round? And so part of our vision was to start having event games, from Fansgiving, which we just had 2 weeks ago, to Halloween games, to New Year's Eve games, to St. Patrick's Day games, bringing in players and having games year round, and then bringing the show on the road. How do we bring this to more people? So we announced the One City World Tour. Again, part of a small bet, the One City World Tour. We announced this to our fan base, let them be a part of it. We got 1,000 nominations heard from over 300 cities, 15 countries.
Wow.
And we narrowed it down to 5, and we chose one city, and they rolled out the yellow carpet for us. They went all in on us. And our wait list now for tickets for that game is already over 1,000 people just for that one game. And so it's proving to us that there's a desire for us to bring the band, bring the Banana Nanas, bring the breakdancing first base coach, bring the whole show, and put on Banana Ball, our new fast game, in front of fans. And it's just the start. And we can't wait to see what the next chapter, unfolds.
I'll tell you what, you got to do Europe, because I think the game's growing and it really needs a lot of help when it comes to the fan base and growing the game at the youth level. I guess let me jump to the youth level a little bit here, because I know it's not exactly the market that you're, as far as you're in a collegiate market right now, but your system, I would think, even at the youth levels, the game's got to be fun. Most kids quit baseball by the age of 12, 13. Everybody blames it on videos and other things. Okay, there are some things that those reasons why
blame
kids
it on the game. Blame it on the game not evolving. Blame it on the game not being more fun.
And that's the number one reason. The number one reason kids quit baseball at that age is just not having any more fun anymore, whether it be on the field or off the field. So talk about what you might do at the youth level, to make it a little bit more entertaining or a little bit more fun for the kids and parents involved. Some ideas there.
It's funny when we put out our vision for the next 3 to 5 years and shared our 24/7, 365 brand and what we're going to do at our ballpark, and zip lines and speakeasies and Airbnbs and just all these things about our ballpark. And I shared it with our coach, and our coach Tyler Gilm, who was on your show, you mentioned, he came back and said, "All right, here's part of my vision the next 3 to 5 years," and it was developing a year-round baseball academy with youth teams that we teach how to make baseball fun, grow our ecosystem that way. The first team would be in all green uniforms because they're not quite ripe. Yeah. And then they continue to get a little bit more yellow all the way up to our collegiate team. And then our professional team, which we're paying players this spring on this tour, where it's going to be professional. So building the ecosystem out. I think back to when I played Little League Baseball. And I remember some moments where our coach had us march in from the outfield, all in unison. I remember doing shadow ball where we'd do infield, outfield with no baseballs. Oh, right. I remember having boom boxes out during practice, and my dad used to let us listen to music, and we were dancing as we were playing. I remember literally putting on our back of our shirt the Williamsport team. We're this little town, Situate, Massachusetts. We put 1996 Williamsport team. And we believed it. And we went all the way to the state finals. We were 4 games away. We believed it because we were just having fun every day. And I look at baseball now and youth, and I'm like, you know what? This act like you've done it before. I understand that's the way baseball should be. But why can't kids do bat flips? Why can't they celebrate? Why can't, when a pitcher strikes out, he does a big strikeout move like wrestling? Why can't there be more fun? You have to show it at the professional level first, which we're going to show the Bananas. You're going to see more bat flips and more celebration moves this year than ever. And then bring that down, because when kids start having fun more, they'll want to play more. And that's going to be the key. So we're going to hopefully lead that in the next 3 to 5 years and see what happens.
And I'm with you on board, because there's no doubt about it. It's the reason we're losing kids is because they're just not having a lot of fun. And anybody that says any difference, wrong. And I think this type of system, I've always believed, I know you're doing it at the higher levels, but I've also believed that it needs to start at the younger level sooner or later, because if you grab them young, then you've got them for a longer period. We talk about long-term development. That long-term development isn't only just skills, but it's also having fun, understanding what fun is all about. Because everybody says that, hey, you got to go out and have fun, and then nobody does it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a responsibility of the coaches, a responsibility of the parents. It's the responsibility of not judging every game by their performance, judging the games by how much fun are they having. If it goes solely about, your team lost, you struck out 3 times, that won't be fun. But again, I look at our games, and I'm so fortunate when we lose, all of our players are outside the plaza and they're dancing with our fans. We have our breakdancing coach out, our pep band's playing music, we're giving away free s'mores. And our fans are having so much fun, and our players understand it's just a loss. Is it bad? Yeah, but it's just a loss. It's no big deal. The parents have to have that responsibility. The coaches have to have that responsibility. Did you guys have fun? Because if they have fun, they'll want to practice more. They'll want to get better. And then the wins and the at-bats, everything else will take care of itself.
And coaches, we've talked about it on the podcast many times. Remember, especially with the young kids, take a look at what they did well in the game. individually, did they steal a base? Did they dive for a ball? Did they, whatever, bunt the guy over? Whatever the situation may be, there's a lot of positives that happen in the game. We got to look at those positives and let the kids understand that. And Jesse said it right. I mean, you're going to fail, and that's part of, life. That's part of, and that's how you learn, by failing. Jesse, the other part is we talked offline a little bit about a special game you guys have developed. Let's talk about that game. And I'll tell you why, because even at the younger levels, and I asked you this question offline, at the younger levels, we have games that are, I'll give you an example, are 5-on-5, right? Only 5 kids on 5 kids, smaller field, bigger barrel bat, real big ball. Why? Because you hit it all the time, right? Instead of putting a ball on a tee and trying to hit it, which college guys have a hard time hitting balls off a tee sometimes. We want success. It's kind of like hockey when they went to, instead of playing, at 10 years old, a full rink, they went across and played 3 games across. Well, they touched the puck more, right? And this is the same difference. You're hitting the ball more. Talk about what you're doing at your level to modify the game. I guess maybe that's the wrong word, but to modify the game a little bit.
Well, I like what you're doing. Anytime we're experimenting, it's a win. And so I love the fact that experiment, fewer kids on the field, bigger bats. That's great. For us, we looked at baseball as it is and said, what are all the friction points in the game? And let's do the opposite. It's how we start with all innovation. I'm going to be a broken record here. That's how all innovation starts. What are the friction points? What are the frustration points? Do the opposite. So the first thing we said, all right, the game's 3 hours. It's too long. What's the time limit that would be ideal? And we said 2 hours. And so we said, all right, 2-hour time limit. Then we said, all right, let's not change the innings, but maybe you change how innings are played. So the main rule is we said, what if we made every inning count? And what I mean by that is if a visiting team scores 6 or 7 runs, the game might be over in an inning. If they score that, the game might be over. But what if every inning counts with whoever wins the inning gets a point? So the first team to 5 points wins. So basically what that creates is it creates a walk-off type experience in every inning. So for instance, the visiting team doesn't score in the first half, the top of the first, and then the home team, first guy gets on base, steals second, base hit next, knocks him in, inning over, 1-0 home team. And so we created this to speed up. Batters can never step out of the box. If they step out of the box, it's a strike. So batters are always in the batter's box, which is great. No mound visits. Baseball purists hate this one. No bunting. We eliminated bunting. We just said bunting sucks and no bunting. If you bunt, you're thrown out of the game. You can steal first. So any pitch and any count, if the ball gets away, pass ball, wild pitch, you can steal first. So it makes more pressure on the pitcher to throw strikes, not waste pitches. And then
so if the ball's in the dirt, catcher blocks it, you could steal first, but he might throw you out.
Correct.
Is that a force out or a tag?
A force.
Okay, cool.
Again, we're still making this up as we go.
No, that's okay. They might, sometimes questions, as that's why I asked you what you do in house with your people. Those questions could spur another idea.
We've done it now 8 times total, 9 times total, 4 in front of fans. So we've learned every time. The next one that we didn't have originally, but we changed, we said walks are brutal. No one gets excited about a walk. A walk is like the most dead part of a game. So we said it's no longer a walk, it's called a sprint. So basically on the 4th ball, the umpire goes sprint and the hitter takes off full speed and the catcher has to throw the ball to every player in the field before it comes live, the infield and the outfield. So it's at least a double. We've had plays at third. Sometimes you'll have a triple if they miss the throw, but you're watching the ball be thrown around while they're running around the bases. It's pretty exciting. Next, if a fan catches a foul ball, it's an out. So bring your glove.
Also, not only bring your glove, hope you got good liability too.
Yeah. Now we're encouraging them.
Some guys dive in, into the stands. That could be interesting. Go ahead.
If he catches the ball for the Bananas, he's thrown out of the stadium. I'll tell you that.
That's right.
And then finally, think about the way they do extra innings in baseball. It's like, all right, we're just going to play more. It's already late. People have already had enough. And now we're just going to play more. And it could go on forever. So we said, no, what's the most exciting type of extra inning type thing in sports? We said it's the penalty kick.
Penalty, yeah.
So we created the one-on-one showdown. Pitcher versus hitter. No one else in the field. Hitter has to score or the pitcher has to get him out. And so you'll see plays at the plate. A ball hit into the outfield. The pitcher's running at it full speed. He throws the ball to the catcher, a play at the plate. Or the hitter hits the ball away in the outfield and he scores easily. But it's everyone in the stadium standing, hoping the pitcher gets him out and the hitter. It's the one-on-one showdown. And so that's our 9 rules. I think I hit them all.
And now when is this being used? I guess explain to our audience. Is this
Any exhibition? So, for instance, we just played it in our Fansgiving game. We're playing it on the One City World Tour. We're playing it in the spring, and we'll play a few exhibitions during the summer. Anytime we're not in the Coastal Plain League, we are playing Banana Ball, and our fans are coming out in droves for. I mean, they get disappointed when we play a regular game, which means evolving that we're going to play more of these in the future.
Wow, love it. Hey, listen, you've been great. We're coming down to the end here a little bit. I want you to really explain anything that possibly, I always bring this up because I don't have all the questions. You got exactly what you want to tell people in the US and around the world, because you've experienced all this really well and things are successful. What do we miss? That's critically important that we need to address for our coaches, players, parents, organizations around the world, in the US, that also can help them understand the concepts that you guys are using in the Savannahs.
I mean, obviously, there's a lot with our culture. We talk about, we love our people even more than our customers. We love our customers even more than our product. But the reality, I think we for players, coaches, the one regret I've always had is I didn't have as much fun as I should have. I took the game too seriously. And I would challenge every coach, every player to not take themselves too serious. I think we need more fun. We need more guys that are going to dance, that are going to sing, that are going to do eating contests. I mean, before our games, we have both teams do a tug of war sometimes against each other before the games. I mean, we have fun, the interaction between the teams. You're going to remember those moments. You may not remember the W hit. I mean, I had games, I hit 3 home runs. I had games where I pitched a 1-hitter against University of South Carolina. I had games like that, but I don't really think much about them. I think about the times that I really did things that were silly and that were fun. And unfortunately, there wasn't that many of them. And so I would challenge people to not come in as this big jock, I have to do this like this, loosen up, have fun, and you'll remember that. And I tell you, you will play better. If you search on YouTube, there's a video called Bananas Play Better. And we had a Georgia Southern professor do a study on all the players in the league based on how well they played in college versus how well they played in their college summer team. And there was only one team that showed a strong correlation for playing better, and it was the Bananas. And he had testament that to the culture, the fun, and the atmosphere. Have more fun, play better. And I think that's the only thing we can think about these days.
No doubt about it. And think about it, folks. You're having fun off the field, on the field, and your success rate is even better as an individual player and as a team. I mean, you can't ask for better than that. Jesse, the other thing is, I was just thinking, I'm a rookie when it comes to podcasts. Okay. So I'm going to put you on the spot. I might as well use you. I got you on the show. So if you're doing a podcast like mine and you want to be different in what you say, what should I be doing?
It's a funny question. So I have my own podcast, and if people listen to my first season, I made it like a game show, and it was literally constant, like game show questions with games, with singing, with contests, with reviews, with all that. And people enjoyed it. But it wasn't sustainable for me because my goal was just to learn, similar to probably what you and other people are doing. So business done differently, it's more, my podcast is more learning. So it really depends on your goal. So for instance, what is your goal of your podcast? Maybe your goal is just connections with people. And if that is the goal, connections and to learn, then you don't need to worry about trying to be dramatically different. Do what gives you energy, what makes it fun for you. For me, just the sharing, interacting, talking with bright people, smart people that are doing a great job, that gives me energy. That's good enough for me. Be your own friend first. Create something for yourself first that you like, and then focus on from there. And I think that's, so I know I politically answered that question, but I think you're doing a great job, my friend.
Oh, but great advice. I love it. I love it. Because, a lot of times I sit there thinking, man, I need to do something different to attract, more people, more coaches, trying to educate more coaches in the US and around the world. But I think that's great advice. Lastly,
just keep being generous. Seth Godin says it best, just keep being generous with what you do, share what you do, and always ship. And the more you keep sharing this, the more you keep putting it out there, that's generous, that's giving, and then more people will give to you. And that means their time, their attention, their listening. So I think you're doing exactly the right thing. And I think if everyone thought about how do they give more, they win. It's as simple as that.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Oh, tell everybody, speaking about sharing, share everything. Talk about, we're going to put it on the show notes, but go ahead. Website, Twitter, Facebook, let people know.
Yeah. Savannah Bananas. You can find us anywhere. Search Yellow Tux. You could find me anywhere. I post on LinkedIn regularly. And then the Bananas. Yeah. We're TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, putting out about 10 pieces of content a day and sharing what we're doing and hopefully being generous and entertaining people and providing fun.
And also about your book. You've had that book that now is in 18 countries.
Yeah. Find Your Yellow Tux. Wrote it a couple of years ago. Shares the journey, and everything we're doing and how you could stand out, be different, have the courage to do things a little bit differently, and things that work for me. And fortunately, it's helped some people out.
Love it. Well, folks, you knew this was going to be a great show. It was perfect match, baseball outside the box, thinking outside the box. We couldn't ask for a better guest. Let's put it that way. So, folks, Jesse, thanks, man. This has been great.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate you.
All right. That's Jesse Cole, the Savannah Bananas owner and founder. Don't forget, we'll put everything on the show notes. I'm Pete Caliendo, your host. And also, don't forget our Lineup Media Group. Thank you for putting up the show. We really appreciate it. Go to podcastbaseballoutsidethebox.com and our Facebook, Peter Caliendo. Subscribe to both. We're always here for you. Special thanks to everybody for listening in the U.S. and around the world. Don't forget, show especially dedicated to Linda Forte, my great mentor. My mom also passed away in November. Len passed away in Thanksgiving. Everybody stay safe, wear your mask. And remember what I always tell you, it's not just about the mask, the distancing, it's about your health, okay? I'm not perfect, but I exercise every day, drink water, get plenty of sleep, take my vitamins, vitamin D, vitamin C, do your homework. Your health is the most important thing. I know other people out there telling you other things out there on TV. Don't listen to them. Do your homework. Be healthy, and we will get over this together. Again, see you on the next show. Love you all. God bless you. Bye-bye.